Hello everyone and welcome back to Get to Know Hospitality Heroes, a video interview series where we get to know more about the professional and personal lives of some of the region's most important hospitality professionals. Today it's my pleasure to welcome Candice D'Cruz, who is Vice President of Luxury Brand Marketing and Management for Marriott International, Europe, Middle East and Africa. Thank you for joining us, Candice.
Thank you for having me. This sounded and looked like a fun project to be part of.
Absolutely. Well, we hope to get to know a little bit more about you today. So before joining Marriott, Candice honed her skills at EMAAR, where she led the marketing and communications for the launch of the Burj Khalifa and the world's first Armani hotel, both of which garnered international acclaim. And just last year, Candice was recognized as the most influential female leader in the Middle East hospitality industry. But to get to know you a little bit better, I'm going to ask you a mix of different questions, some career and some fun. So are you ready to get started?
Yes, let's do it.
Great. So let's start with our first one, which is why and how did you choose your career?
So hospitality happened by chance, not by design. You mentioned this a little earlier, but I used to work with EMAAR, where I headed marketing for Burj Khalifa and Armani Hotel Dubai. Those pretty much worked as a springboard for me into the world of hospitality, and rest is history. Over a decade ago, if someone asked me what would be my choice, I would have said destination marketing. But if somebody asked me now, I'm a true blue hotelier, and I love it.
That's great. Okay, so I'm going to hit you now with a fun question. What was the last thing that you Googled?
So this goes to show my frame of mind. The last thing I Googled was hazmat suits for kids. I have a young daughter, and she's a great travel companion. My husband and I have had amazing travels with her around the world. Wow. And we are absolutely craving travel. I want to get onto that flight as soon as we can, because it's been a while since we've had a holiday or a quick break. I looked up hazmat suits for kids, but there wasn't much options available just yet.
So I've heard a little rumor that you like to combine your work travel with a family holiday. Is that right?
I have been blessed with the fact that I have been able to take my young daughter with me on many of my trips and have, because I wanted to ensure that I had enough face time with her and was part of her growing as well.
Yeah.
And that's where hospitality comes in. We are a people-driven industry, and I've had the good fortune to take her with me. She's 3.5. She's done 10 countries already.
Wow.
She knows the difference between good sushi and a good macaroon. So I don't know whether that's a boon or a bane in terms of having a hospitality child.
Well, she's going to be a very well-traveled and cultured individual.
Yes, I think that will hold in good stead. I believe travel today defines an individual more than their nationality, and with my daughter, I definitely believe, and we would love for her to be a world citizen.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely broadens the mind. So moving on to the next one. What is it that inspires you, Candice?
For me, I'd say kindness and hard work. Hard work is something that never goes unrecognized, and it might not seem like it's giving you then, but it always ensures that it gets recognized at an eventual stage. And I'd say kindness. If you do something, however small the gesture, it remains with the person for far more than what you've done. And very much like the saying that goes, people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel.
Absolutely.
So for me, kindness and hard work.
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely a good characteristic trait for someone in the hospitality industry as well, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on, I want to ask you, other than one of your own properties, what is the best hotel that you've ever stayed in? You mentioned that you've done a lot of traveling. I'm sure you've stayed in a few good ones.
Yeah, so you'd imagine that was a tough one in terms of making a choice of where we'd say that was an amazing hotel. And I'd say, given the fact that I head up the luxury portfolio, I've seen some beautiful hotels around the world, and one can be better than the other, and the list just goes on. But what has happened in our recent travels is how has the destination really stayed with us way beyond our holiday, and how has that really transformed us? I'd say the last holiday that we had was in Seychelles, and we were lucky enough to be able to spend a few nights at the North Island. Now it's a private 11 villa island resort, extremely exclusive, beautiful in terms of an experience. It stands for truly stands for rarity and raw luxury. What was amazing is, apart from the actual island and this oneness with nature, was these little touches that we had in terms of experiences. For example, to get around the island, you needed to use the buggy. And if we parked the buggy overnight after sort of spending a lot of time on the island, the next morning we'd wake up and our buggy would be turned around and ready for us to go around as well. So these little touches that we had just sort of blew our minds in terms of an experience. We had a butler through the entire experience, and at the start I told him how I like my coffee, and that's it. I didn't have to repeat myself. In the morning my coffee would be there, and it's just these levels of uber personalization, I think stayed with us a lot more. And then yes, my daughter had the opportunity to hug these 100-year-old tortoises and sort of walk on the sand. How can you complain with experiences like that? Those sort of stay with you forever.
That sounds incredible. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think especially with luxury brands, the differentiating factors can definitely be those small little touches and that really make it feel personalized to you.
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay, so following on from that, what does excellent guest service mean to you?
I think for me, excellent service would be allowing an associate or allowing staff at the hotel to be empowered to make an experience above and beyond expectations. I'd say because it is kind of table stakes to be able to surprise and delight, and we hear a lot of our hospitality colleagues talking about going above and beyond. How do you go above and beyond is key, and an associate being able to think on their feet and be able to say, this is what they need and this is how I can really create that wow moment is key for me. And I can say as much as about I want to say 2 weeks ago, and I'll say out of a recent example for myself. 2 weeks ago, we were at lunch at one of our hotels, and my daughter kept talking about macaroons. The restaurant didn't have macaroons, and as we finished lunch, we went back to the reception. We were waiting for my car. The concierge came with a little bag with a huge pink macaroon for my daughter. Completely unexpected. They didn't have macaroons in their hotel. They went out, bought one for her and brought that back. Wow. And that is for me excellent service, where I didn't have to say anything. They heard the conversation and they surprised us. And not only will it stay with me, but I've spoken about that to so many people now, saying this is what it takes in terms of excellent service. And I'd say with COVID and what's happening as we sort of get onto the road to recovery, this empowerment will play such an important role in being able to deliver excellent service. I think our hotels will need to really, while we will have smaller teams, how are our teams thinking on their feet and adapting to ensure that service excellence remains top of mind.
Yeah, I think going above and beyond especially is really important and can kind of really finish it off and create an excellent guest experience. Absolutely.
Yes, and doing it because they want to do it, not robotic. I think doing it based on what they hear and see in their interaction. So making it really authentic.
How do you enable that in your staff? I mean, is that something that you train or coach, or is that a culture within the company, do you think?
It's a culture. It has to come from top down. So it has to come from the general manager. He or she really needs to believe in empowerment and letting associates make decisions. Obviously, there is framework and guidelines around that, but being able to think on their feet is important. And that's when you feel like the interaction with the associate is real and not sort of scripted. You sort of, as a guest, you kind of switch off if it's too scripted. But when you know that they're genuinely into you, they're really keen on making sure that your experience is amazing, and also the opportunity for you to tell stories. And I've given you a couple of stories from my own travels. And as you know, travel is part of my job. Going out and seeing some of our hotels and seeing some of our associates is key. But I can write a book on some of the amazing experiences we've had, and how these little touches just stay with us forever.
Wow. Yeah, it's very important for every hospitality professional. Okay, so quick question for you, fun one. Do you prefer sweet or savory, and why?
So if anybody knows me well enough, they or have had some interaction with me, they will know that I have a terrible sweet tooth. In fact, I laugh about it, saying I have sweet teeth. I'm happy to forego a meal for dessert, and it's like the for me, I'd say I relate to the famous Napoleon saying, but more with chocolate. So yes, I have a sweet tooth, but more chocolate than anything else. And when happy, chocolate. When celebratory, chocolate. When not so happy, chocolate.
Works for all occasions.
It works. It absolutely works on all occasions. In fact, it is also a known fact that in my office, my top drawer, I always have good chocolate. So much so that in the afternoons, if someone is craving chocolate on our floor, I'll see people hovering around outside of my office, so coming and having a casual chat with me just for a piece of chocolate.
That's a good way to get on their good side, I suppose.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I would I mean, even when I'm having I need to sort of focus and have I'm working on a presentation, or I'm working on something that needs a lot of attention, my top drawer will be open while I'm working on my presentation and helping myself to chocolate. So yeah, I have a terrible sweet tooth.
Well, a definite answer there. If I can give you one last question, obviously this series is all about hospitality heroes. Do you have someone in mind that would be your hospitality hero? Maybe someone that influenced your career or shaped it in any way?
Oh, wow. I'd say during my time with EMAAR and when I had the opportunity to work on Armani Hotel Dubai, I will say Mr. Giorgio Armani himself in terms of inspiration. The attention to detail is exemplary. I mean, when you look at some of the elements that have gone into that hotel, even something as simple as the sugar that was served with coffee and the branding on that, I'd say for me that was amazing grounding to say in luxury, less is more, but having that laser focus on attention to detail is so very important to be able to stand out in a crowd.
Yeah. That's great. Okay, well, thank you very much for joining us today, Candice. We really appreciate your time, and I hope to see you at the next edition of the Hotel Show Dubai.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Thanks very much.
And have a great day.
And you.